Waiting. Okay, I'm going live. Still returning. Okay, now she's entering. Here we are.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Okay, give me 1 second.
Sure.
I forgot my crown.
You know what? I was gonna wear this.
Ooh,
This is my
I
crown.
love it.
You like it?
Yeah,
It lights
representing our season very well.
All right. Anyway, actually, I prefer my
Alright.
hat for now. So how are you, darling?
Oh man, I'm good. I just ran out to our sponsors. We are doing a photo shoot with the crown over the weekend. So I'm really excited for that because we haven't been able to give you pictures for that just yet. So
Yeah.
had to pick up the gowns, really excited for that. But yeah, I've been doing pretty good.
Okay, so everybody wants to know when the pageant will be held and where. We've been hearing rumors.
Okay,
So
what rumors have you heard?
I'm hearing rumors that it could take place in Miami sometime in April, late April or early May, which is good because which gives the girls a lot of time to prepare. So that's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's just a rumor. I mean, crazy pageant fans, they would publish posts stuff that has not been confirmed. So.
Exactly.
I honestly wish that I could give you more information.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're all on the same level playing field here. I know just as much as you. Actually didn't really hear about this Miami rumor, but I was told that it is going to be in April or May.
Okay. So we're on the right page, pretty much. Yeah.
You're on the right page. If anything, I should probably be asking you where it's going to be at.
Okay, so let's talk about things that have actually been confirmed. You are Miss Universe Singapore 2020. Has the title sunk in yet? Tell us.
Oh my gosh. It has, and to be honest though, the space is very different. So I do know that different girls feel it differently. For me, I've been able to feel the weight of the title through social media because there's definitely a lot of buzz globally. I have people contacting me all the way from Mexico, Colombia, other places all over the world, and even with you contacting me all the way from Canada. Am I right?
Wow.
and so I really do feel that presence online, but there is a little flip side to that. In Singapore, Miss Universe is admittedly not a very huge space in locally, so that means that I haven't really been able to get as much coverage locally as I have been with my international fans.
Wonderful. Well, you know what? We sent you
Wonderful.
a list of questions, okay? And I hope you have the time to look at them and then maybe prepare. But before we continue, let us formally introduce ourselves. My name is Rafa Delphin. I'm the director and creator of Critical Beauty, and my colleague and friend is Jan Michael Ranyado. Jan Michael is based in the Philippines, and I'm based in the United States in exactly Massachusetts. So first question, this actually comes from your fellow Singapore fan, which happens to be a very good friend of mine. Her name's Sabrina.
Wow.
Sabrina Solomon. She has two questions. Her first question is, Singapore has not cracked the semifinals at Miss Universe since 1987. I think you got what it takes, girl. What unique qualities would you bring to Miss Universe for judges and fans to take notice?
Right. Okay. That is a very hard-hitting question right there. I would say that I would like to normalize this arena because whenever people think about pageants, they think about beauty, they think about height, they think about stature, and they don't necessarily have a conversation about the voices that the women are making. It's usually focused on their aesthetics. Now, I'm 5'5", and I would say I have very ordinary features, and it pales in comparison to some of my counterparts. And I'm not being mean on myself. I'm just being very objective. There are great women that's competing for Miss Universe. And I would say that on the aesthetic aspect, I wouldn't necessarily be deemed as the strongest contender.
Okay.
But in saying that, Miss Universe is not just all about the looks. It's kind of evolved into being a platform that allows thought leaders to take center stage. So, you know, it's talking about culture, and it's really trying to integrate voices and trying to get lots of momentum going on social, political, and economical issues.
Mhm.
And as you know, I was born in the Philippines. I was raised
We
there.
heard, yeah.
So I know there's a little discussion about that. I was born in the Philippines. I moved to Singapore when I was 11 years old, but I have also lived in Shanghai in between that time. So I have a really strong sense of being able to assimilate into different cultures and different societies. And I feel like that is one aspect to being a reigning Miss Universe, is being able to travel all over the world and to really appreciate and adapt to it,
Right,
as quickly as possible.
so
And also, you know,
yeah, go ahead. Well, actually, I was going to mention, because what you're saying could actually be linked to Sabrina's second question, which is, what do you like about the Miss Universe pageant that made you want to join?
Okay. Well, I joined Miss Universe predominantly because I had a good community locally and abroad that was like edging me to join the competition. And in all fairness, I know that there is a lot of discredit that goes into the competition, a lot of naysayers and criticism in this space. And to be honest with you, I've been on the very neutral end of it. I haven't grown up thinking that I wanted to be a pageant queen. That's definitely not the case at all. If anything, I am the bookworm that's sitting in the corner of the classroom back when I was in elementary school. And I would say that being a beauty queen has not been the focus in my life. But it's a funny thing, because really the universe kind of puts in these little nuggets of pathways for you to try and explore. And once you take that, it kind of just falls into place. Like, really, the stars do align. It all started when I was in the Philippines doing a Go See. So that means I work as a model. That's my profession. And so when I went to the Philippines, I was introduced to Mama Ru, which is quite a prominent figure in the pageant scene in the Philippines. And I was asked to just meet Mama Ru, and I thought we were going to have coffee, or we are going to have a nice little chat. But in the end, when he asked me to come down, it was actually for an interview or an inauguration of a pageant camp that he was hosting. So it's funny, I didn't even go look for it, but it just kind of happened. And then the following year, Miss Universe Singapore changed hands. So there's different people doing the organization right now. And they ended up having a creative director from the Philippines, the same team that I was speaking to.
And of course, you're speaking about the talented, illustrious Jonas Scofield, whom we all love and admire, right? So, okay, well, that's good to know, because we did some research ourselves. We know that you were born and raised in the Philippines, but as far as identity goes, would you consider yourself fully Singaporean, fully Filipina, half Singaporean, half Filipina, whatever? How would you, because we're talking about, like, a lot of people love to identify themselves, or, you know, putting labels on themselves. How would you consider your identity?
Honestly, I would say I'm a medley, and there's actually this dish in the Philippines, not in the Philippines, in Singapore. Sorry, there you go. There's this dish in Singapore that I think encompasses who I am and encompasses Singapore as a nation. It's called rojak. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before.
No, is it one of those street food?
Yeah, that you could get in the hawker center, and it's just basically a plate of fruits and all these different like sauces sprawled all over it. And it's basically an identity that Singapore embodies, wherein it's multicultural, multiracial, and multi-religious.
Mhm.
So they don't really identify to just being a Chinese nation or a Malay nation. And
Malaysia.
that's how I see myself as well. I was born in the Philippines and I have roots there. I have family there.
Mhm.
I grew up there. I have a love for the people. But at the same time, I have a love for Singapore as a country too. I have so much appreciation for the way that this nation has been built up. So to really identify in just one area is impossible.
Okay, well, yeah, that's so true. Jen Michael, do you want to ask her some questions related to what you just said?
Yep. Yes, just first I would like to congratulate you for being crowned as Miss Universe Singapore 2020, and of course with your physical attributes I can see a very beautiful oriental beauty, like just an Asian beauty. But my question is, can you tell more about your advocacy on improving the lives of migrant workers in Singapore?
Absolutely. So this is the same advocacy I was talking about last year when I joined Miss Universe Singapore and was competing as a finalist. And it still is the same advocacy I'm sticking to this year, especially now, because during COVID, the community that was severely hit is actually the migrant workers. So how appropriate to talk about it and keep on talking about it. Basically, the migrant workers here in Singapore are not fully supported. And so a lot of them have been told a lie or a vision of how their lives are supposed to be abroad. So coming from wherever country they're from and then coming to Singapore, they obviously think, wow, first world country, I'm going to get opportunities. I'm going to do this. I'm going to save money for my family. What they don't realize is that there are not that much agencies that would represent them in an honorable and fair way. So they might not necessarily be getting the right payment. They might not necessarily be paid on time. Sometimes if they're injured on the job, they don't have any insurance to cover for those injuries.
Mhm.
And what are they going to do to have their daily costs met when they're not able to work?
Mhm.
So these are the kind of social issues that we should definitely be talking about. And people kind of take a blind eye to it, which is really sad because really they are the hands that built this nation to where it's at.
Mhm.
It's a really huge infrastructure country. We've got a lot of urban architecture, and that's honestly one of the things I love about Singapore. And yet they are so overlooked.
Mhm.
So this year, actually just over the weekend, it was International Migrants Day. And so what that meant was we were able to set up booths, me and the organization that I'm with. It's called It's Raining Raincoats. So definitely check them up.
Sure.
It's Raining and Raincoats did a tie-up with MOM, which is called Ministry of Manpower, which is a huge government body here in Singapore. And MOM realizes that a lot of people are looking at what the government is doing with these communities. So now that there's a lot of eyes on this space, they're trying to do as much as they can, trying to collaborate with organizations, nonprofits. And so with International Migrants Day, what we did was we set up educational booths where they could sign up to learn English, upskill themselves, learn cooking. And we also had some booths for them to collect goodie bags. So that meant body washes, shampoos, hygienic products, sanitizers, masks, all these things that needs money for them to buy for, we just provide for them. And then we also did a game center, so you could win not cash prizes, sorry. You could get top-up card prizes in order to connect with their family through their phones. So to kind of add to that, we also have this really great initiative with It's Raining Raincoats. Have you been to the tour buses in Singapore before?
I've never been to Singapore, to be honest. Jan, Michael, have you?
I've been to Singapore. Yeah, I've been to Singapore 2016.
Do you know the tour buses that go along the city?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that buses, but we ride the train, but not in
Right,
the
right.
buses.
So
Yes.
we have this tour bus where it just basically goes to all the main landmarks in Singapore, and we're trying to get the migrant workers to have a night off and see the Christmas lights on the tour bus.
That's
And
nice.
so that's another MOM initiative for them.
That's
with
nice.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I would
That's nice.
think that migrants' rights do exist in Singapore, but they're not enforced. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely overlooked because, even when we're talking about minimum wage here, it's not very enforced either. So,
Really? Okay.
and this is, talking about somebody local that's going to enter into the workforce.
Right.
That's a local person, right? We're not even
Mhm.
talking about somebody that's an expat.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also,
Just a follow-up question.
yeah, go ahead, Jen. Michael.
Yeah, okay. Just a follow-up question. We know that Singapore is a young country, and for you, what can your country teach the rest of the world?
Right, of course. Well, firstly, I'd like to say that Singapore is a marvelous country. I don't know if you've heard, but recently the government have issued vaccinations, and they said that our vaccinations will be free for the locals
Yeah.
and will
Good.
be
That's
free
good.
Yeah.
for the term holders. So what nation really has the government so in tune with world events that they could be able to spearhead this at such an early stage?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I just want to say that because I'm so proud of what we've been able to accomplish, well, what they've been able to accomplish.
Yeah.
In saying that, your question again was Singapore is a young country.
Yes, a young country.
Yeah.
What can your
Yeah.
country teach the rest of the world?
Teach the rest of the world.
Right. Well, Singapore is actually a nation that's built by immigrants. So I would say that the pillars of success that really define Singapore is its ability to be able to live harmoniously with all these different diversities, all these different opinions and cultures. As I've said, it's multicultural, multiracial, and it also has a multitude of religions living in one city state. Now, let's not forget that Singapore is a city state. That means the entire country is just like this really tiny blip in the map.
It's not an island, is it? It's an island as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yes.
It's a body of water, and it's literally like it's a city. So if you drove from one end to the other, I think you'd be able to reach in like 2 hours, maybe by car.
Yeah.
And that's like you reaching the end of your country. So it's a small place, and there's not a lot of space for you to run away from. Let's say there's, calamity or chaos going on.
Yeah.
So I'd say that one thing that the country can learn from Singapore is that we are able to live harmoniously despite all of these differences, and that's really the imprint of what makes us stand out from everybody else. We've got Malay, we've got Chinese, we've got lots of people from Europe, America, all over the world. And we're able to embrace that fully and still live an honest and harmonious life.
Now, this is a lot of people don't realize that Singapore used to be part of Malaysia, correct? Yes.
Yes.
And then it became an independent country, I believe, in 1965. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure, but I think somewhere in 1960s.
Yes.
And its first prime minister was Lee Kwan Yew, whom I admire. I think every Singaporean admires Lee Kwan Yew for all the wonderful, great things he did about Singapore. Yeah.
He's a legend.
I love Singapore.
Legend, yeah.
He's a legend.
It's a very clean country, the safety, the infrastructure, the people, they're amazing.
He's honestly a man beyond his times.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was such a visionary, and there was actually a lot of opposing views against what he was standing for or the political structure that he was trying to build in this country. So there was, it takes a strong leader, a true leader, to be able to forge through despite all of that pressure from everybody else, and despite the fact that you were literally a swamp island.
Swamp Island, right? Yeah.
Because that's what it was before all of this glitz and this glamour and all the high buildings and all the architectural marvel. It was swampy.
With swampy creatures, we know. Now, why do you think you should be Miss Universe 2020 or 2021, whatever? Go.
Oh my gosh, this is huge. Why do I think I should be Miss Universe?
Right.
Well, it kind of ties into the question that you just asked me earlier, right? I think I should be Miss Universe because of the fact that I'm so relatable, the fact that I am your day-to-day average woman. I don't stand a foot taller than the average person, but more than that, I am interested in a plethora of topics. You know, we could talk about so many things. We could talk about something spiritual. We could talk about something, I don't know, political. We could talk about something cultural, and I would be able to step up to that kind of conversation. And I think, especially now, as I've said, Miss Universe is not just about a pretty face. It's evolved into something much bigger, especially when there is social media. So I think with the role that they're trying to fill for, it's all about getting your voice heard, being able to articulate yourself, but also articulate the right kind of messaging. And really to pull all these views from different cultures and not really say that, hey, this is one truth and that's the one all truth. I think it takes a really strong woman, like, to be able to say that, no, this is it, but this is also that. And there is going to be a lot of hate and flank that comes with it, but it's all about the personality and the character. And I believe that I have that.
Well, you know what, Miss Universe Singapore, you just made my list of favorites.
Thank you.
I've never interviewed a beauty queen who actually has used the word plethora. And I just love the word plethora. and you use it magnificently. So congratulations.
I did say I was a bookworm.
Hey, that's right. Jen Michael, go ahead.
That's nice. So speaking of Miss Universe, if you're given the opportunity to choose a roommate at the Miss Universe, which contestant would you like to choose and why?
So can I have two?
If they allow it, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Tripod sharing.
Fine. Okay, fine. Two. Choose two.
Fine.
Okay. Miss Universe Australia really struck a chord to me. And she's very similar to me in the respect that she's able to really vocalize her thoughts clearly and astutely. I love that about her. And I love the fact that she's able to speak confidently about her own truth and to really assume the role of being an immigrant from another country and not necessarily being the ideal quote unquote ideal Australian representative, but that she still manages to hold herself with so much grace. And I mean, I could keep going on about how much I look up to her, but let's just leave it at that. So Miss Australia.
Okay. Who's the other one?
And obviously, I mean, the other one is Rubia. I mean, of course, because, you know, in the Philippines, I have a connection to it, a very strong connection to it. And also the fact that I'm going to be possibly, fingers crossed, training in the Philippines very soon.
Wow,
Also gives me that sense of connectivity and wanting to spend more time with her and really get to know her as a person. I feel like if you already have a friend before the competition in April and May, that just allows you to be more empowered and to really get into Miss Universe with as much confidence.
Okay, so
Nice.
we're gonna wish for that list. We're gonna wish for that dream of yours to become a reality. So we're gonna sign it. We're gonna, I don't know, maybe ask for a petition to Miss Universe organization. Could you please have Miss Universe Singapore, Miss Universe Philippines, and Miss Universe Australia as roommates, please? You know,
Yes.
right
Oh
around.
my god.
That would be
Yeah,
wonderful. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
that would be awesome. Just because they're all strong women.
Mhm.
I've also seen her
Yeah.
interview with you guys, and she really holds herself very well.
She did.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so impressed. And
Yeah, she did because she's gotten into hot water lately because some crazy pageant fans spliced a part of that interview and made her look bad.
mm,
So that's part of the whole ugly negative side of the pageant industry. You will always have people who, even though you try your best, they will still find a way to hate you, to bash you, online, cyberbullying. It's not going to
Yeah.
go away. It's not going to go away. But I'm going to ask you, how do you deal with cyberbullying?
well, I just delete them.
Girl,
I just get that out of here, man.
what?
We don't need all of that, especially since you know you're living your best authentic life, and for somebody
Yep.
else to just take over, for somebody incognito, okay, somebody who's assumed a fake avatar, who's taken a pseudonym to try and pull you down, that's
Right.
not okay. That really is not okay.
Yeah.
And social media, as you've said, is filled with all of these things, but as much as I can control it, I will cut that out.
Yeah. Good for you. Well, you know what? I can't agree with you more because life
Yeah.
is too short. Life is too short. There's really why would you want to waste your time on somebody who hates
Yeah.
you and you don't even know this person? You've never met this person. And 99.9% of these haters use
Mm.
anonymous identities.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have the
Yes,
courage.
exactly.
They don't have the courage to tell you upfront face to face, but they would rather hide behind the
Exactly.
keyboard and just, tap away. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
John Michael, go ahead.
Um, Bernadette, speaking of social media, do you think social media bringing people together or causing separation? What's your take on this?
Mm. I believe that it's both, because it's a double-edged sword, and it is a tool for us to use and navigate, but it can also be used differently on the wrong hands or with the wrong intention. So there's definitely been a lot of success stories, of victory stories, where families have been reunited, or you've missed somebody and you've finally, long lost after how many years, been able to rekindle that friendship or that relationship. And it's beautiful in the sense that it's able to connect people. But we should also just use it as a vehicle. And we should not put 100% of our lives in it. We should always use it, but not integrate fully into it, because that's where it gets
Yes.
dangerous.
I totally agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
social
Well said.
media. Yeah,
Well said.
social media is just like any other tool. You can use
Mm.
it. You can use it in a bad way or in a good way. So So now you're a millennial. Um, Everybody says every millennial,
Mm.
they think they're idealistic. They want to change the world. So that's why there's so much activism going on in parts of the world where they're trying to resolve problems that are pertinent to their own communities and whatnot. What do you think is the greatest threat that is facing your generation today?
Oh my gosh, this actually marries very well into what we just talked about.
Mhm.
There's actually this quote that I hope you don't mind me reading.
Go ahead.
Um, the quote is from Bill Ballard, and he says, "Opinion is really the lowest form of human knowledge. It requires no accountability, no understanding. But the highest form of knowledge is empathy, for it requires us to suspend our ego egos and live in another's world. It requires profound purpose larger than the self kind of understanding.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is
That's
beautiful.
beautiful.
It is very deep, very deep. I'm going to steal that quote.
I'll send it over to
I love that.
Yes, please, please. And I'm going to ask the next Miss Universe contestant to comment on that quote. No, I'm just kidding.
So, this quote is actually a quote that has entered my life years ago, even before social media has been super rampant. I mean, now it's just out of control, but I luckily have been able to come across this when it was not as ridiculous as it is now. So it really allowed me to reframe my perspective. Now, in answering your question, I feel like we have too many opinions right now because social media, as I've told you, is a new tool. And it's just newly entered our lives. So when it's newly entered our lives, it means there's no culture that dictates how we should behave in it.
Right.
And there's also little to no regulation that's happening. So even the founders, the people that have created and developed these apps, and all the policy makers from all over the world in different countries, they're still grappling with this issue. They still don't know how to navigate and how to regulate this space.
Exactly. Right.
And that honestly makes it a very dangerous place.
Yeah.
Now, you know,
I agree with that.
Yeah, as I've told you, you know, with the trolls and the people that are in disguise, that with their pseudonyms and whatnot, they're given free rein to interact with other people however they see fit without any consequences whatsoever. So right now we're talking about hate speeches, we're talking about misinformation, we're talking about bigotry, and all of this proliferating in the internet. So I think the biggest thing right now that's threatening us as humanity is we're giving too much power to unregulated and underdeveloped opinions.
I totally agree. And I think one of the most dangerous aspects of that issue is a lot of us tend to be very vulnerable, and we tend to take everything seriously what other people, or especially people we don't even know, say or think about us. You know, I mean, like what I said, life is too short. You know, we need to stay positive, you know, as possible, and just block all negativity away. So, Jen Michael, go ahead.
I agree with that. So, from that question, let's jump to this one of the biggest actually issues facing also in the pageant world. My question is, what's your opinion about the transgender joining the traditional beauty pageant for women? So, what's your opinion on that?
Oh my gosh, power to the people. Yes, that is my opinion, because we have been told time and time again that we're only supposed to fit one mold. We're supposed to be just a woman. We're just supposed to be a man. We're just supposed to be either two of these brackets. And then what if I'm a woman, but I have so much male energy and I like to do something more physical, or I process things differently outside of what a typical woman would be. So how do we answer those questions? And I'm really glad that this is coming to light now. And I'm a huge advocate for Netflix.
Me too.
This is a little segue, but I'll explain why I'm a huge advocate for Netflix. Netflix is definitely coming up with a lot of plot twists, a lot of integration of different racial stories, and it's also talking about different gender roles. And I love that. I love the fact that we're able to see something and be so accessible to different stories that is outside of what we've been taught. So in saying that, I remember I was watching this Netflix show, this show called Billions. It's actually not from Netflix, but they integrate it into the platform. And there's actually a character, and she's trans. Is it trans? No, she's not
Transgender?
trans. What
Trans
is it?
woman?
Yeah, she doesn't identify as a she or a him. So when you
A non-binary.
non-binary, yeah, she's not, they are non-binary.
Yeah.
But they, them, they were non-binary. And so my grandfather was watching with me, and he asked me, hey, so just based on the way she was looking, what she was dressed up as, he was like, oh, do you think she's a woman or a man? and I was trying to explain that concept to him, that they are neither. And it was so far removed from his own reality. And it's just really interesting how we're able to kind of create content nowadays to really shed light on this issue. So
Right.
back to your question. Sorry, that was a huge segue. Sorry.
Well, you know, I'm glad the Miss Universe organization started accepting transgendered women back in 2012. You know, that was when Donald Trump used to own the pageant, because they got a lot of pressure from civil rights groups and whatnot. But then again, you wonder, is it really necessary for transgendered contestants to compete in Miss Universe, knowing the fact that there are already so many pageants strictly for transgendered women, and some of them are even better than Miss Universe or Miss World or other pageants. And some of these contestants actually look amazing. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't suspect that they used to be men, you know? So I think that's what some pageants would probably say. Well, it's not fair for biological women because they're competing against with artificial women, pardon the expression, but they're competing against artificial women. So what do you think?
I do not agree with that. As long as we're holding space for everybody, and I'm a strong believer of egalitarianism. So as long as we're creating equal rights, equal opportunities for everybody, and holding space for every type of group, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. We don't have to box them in, because you know what? If we're boxing them in and telling them that they can only compete in a transgender beauty pageant, you're already segregating and creating disharmony in society. Beauty pageants should be beauty pageants, and that's what I love about it, right? That's what I felt with the community when I was crowned Miss Universe Singapore. I felt like there was love and there was support, and it didn't come from one source. It came from many different places.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well said.
So hopefully one of these days, a pageant that focuses on transgendered contestants should start admitting biological women, right? Egalitarianism.
I mean, I know that it's been set up in order to hold space for women that were marginalized and were told no, and it's fine, right? It's fine that they did that. It's great that they did that. But let us open that up. Let's create our bubble, and not create our bubble. Let's get out of our bubble.
Yeah.
Let's get out, let's pop that bubble.
Get out of the box, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were a superhero, who would you be and why?
Wow, okay. For the longest time, when I was a young girl, I saw Mulan as a superhero. And she was
You look like her.
Aw, that is the
you kind of look like her, yeah.
That's the highest compliment. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. That's honestly the highest compliment. And I looked to her as a young child as a role model, because she was obviously ethnically the same as me. That must have played a part when I was really young. Obviously, I didn't internalize that, but I'm sure, of course, that was true. But more than that, she was a woman that was strong enough to know the truth from within herself, despite all the social norms that's happening around her, despite, especially in China, right? As a Chinese descent, it's so important for you to have filial piety. So you need to not disgrace your family. You need to just bow your head down and do as told. And the very fact that Mulan was able to break out of that for the love of not just, it's really not herself, it's for the love of her family, for the love of her country. She was able to save her country on a literal sense. And that really spoke to me so much. And so I would say, I know she's just a human. She doesn't fly or anything, I know, but I would say I would still stick to Mulan.
Wonderful. Would you wear a Mulan costume as your national costume?
Ooh, you know what? I actually did a test shoot. So a test shoot is basically just for funsies. You just do a collaboration with a photographer. I did a test shoot with a photographer, and I actually was dressed up as Mulan. I had the whole warrior gear and the sword with me. So I've already lived that life.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Go ahead, Jen Michael.
Bernadette would like to ask, how's your preparation for the Miss Universe? Do you have any hardship or sacrifices when you're preparing for this pageant?
I mean, it is really tough, and I've given you a glimpse of that, in that the pageant arena in Singapore is very dismal. So we're talking about not being able to get sponsors, not even being compensated for the role that you're in. And so I would say that that's really the biggest thing, because now it feels as if I need to assume the role of having to source out all these people and really leverage on the network that I have. So that is definitely the most difficult. In terms of preparing for Q&A, I'm still hoping to find a coach for that. But for the time being, I'm able to just read as much as I can and really get news on a daily basis. Also, I have you guys to thank for this. I don't typically vocalize my opinions. And the fact that there are so many interviews that's coming my way and really allowing me to think on my feet and to really think about topics that I've never thought about before. Thank you so much, because I know that's preparation right there.
Right, exactly.
Yes, that's right, exactly.
You know, when you try to explain that to crazy pageant fans, they think, oh, well, here we are, Critical Beauty interviewing Miss Universe Singapore. Let's wait for Rafa to ask her some challenging questions that will put her in a bad light. That's what they think. They don't even think that any type of question can be asked or can be thrown at you by the American media. You know, the American media they're very, very challenging. They will ask you all sorts of questions. They don't ask you to prepare for the question.
Exactly.
You just respond, you know, whatever comes first to your mind. And I think a lot of traditional Asian beauties don't understand that concept. They require more time to think, to prepare, so forth and so on. Well, it's a competition, darling. You're supposed to be prepared.
Yeah.
All sorts of questions, you know. So sorry, bye. Next.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true. And when people say that when you're a title holder, it is a new job on its own, it honestly is true, because all this prep work, all the fact that you can think on your feet and have a conversation with someone and really delve into topics that are difficult to talk about, you need training for that.
Well, look at Miss Venezuela. You know, Venezuelan beauty queens. I mean, they're probably one of the best beauty queens in the world. It takes them like a year, sometimes a year and a half, to prepare for whatever contest they're competing in, you know. And then it's because of COVID-19, you know, this year it just so happens that several countries crowned their title holders not too long ago, so which gives them less time to prepare. But I think the fact that they might move Miss Universe pageant in May or April, May, that gives them, you know, enough preparation time. So what do you think? So you think you're talking about? So you think interview is your weakest point at this point?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, as far as I know, you communicate yourself very, very well. You're coherent.
Exactly.
You're consistent. You're clear, and you speak very well. Obviously, you're very well educated. You're very articulate. But that only goes as far as you can take.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of, because there's uncharted waters of unknown questions out there that
Yeah.
any of the judges may ask you. So I think it's only a question of preparation. So you know what? If a girl asks me that question, 'cause I'm also a pageant coach. So if a girl asks me that question, Rafa, what should I do if I don't know the answer? You know what? Act. Pretend you know something. Just
Yeah.
act and pretend that you know something, but give a very convincing, punching delivery. That's what the judges want to hear.
Yeah.
Try to sound
Yeah.
sincere. And there's nothing wrong with saying, oh, I really don't know what to say, but invent something, be creative. That's all part of
Yeah.
being spontaneous, I think.
I think it also
Yeah.
comes with having the personal interest to go into a multitude of topics. Because if you're not somebody who likes to read, or if you're somebody that hasn't experienced life to the extent that this role requires, then it's very difficult to have an opinion. It's very difficult to kind of assume that you have a voice.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Jan, go ahead.
Yeah, just a follow-up question, Bernadette. So since we're talking about beauty pageant, so what can you tell for people that say someone that say that pageantry degrades women? So what's your opinion on this?
Pageantry degrades women.
Yeah.
I would say that hold that thought until you've actually lived in their shoes.
Good one. That good one.
Nice.
That's a good
Mm.
one.
Wow.
But I think
Yeah.
the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement, brought awareness to sexual assault. If you're a beautiful girl, it doesn't matter if you're competing in a pageant or if you're a model.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sexual harassment is very, very rampant. So
Mm.
how do
Yeah.
you deal with men or with dirty old men who attempt to put their hands on you? How do you deal with them?
Man, I've also brushed with similar encounters in the past, because it might not even be because you're a model, right? The first encounter I ever had was in Abercrombie and Fitch. I was working as a camera girl, and that meant I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but at the entryway, just as you go into this retail store, it sells clothes.
Mhm.
You get a
Yeah.
shirt man with 8 packs of abs. We're talking 8 here, not 6. We've got this shirtless man, and we've got a camera girl, and this girl's holding a Polaroid, and she could either take photos of the guy with other people, or she could be in the photo herself. So when Abercrombie and Fitch opened in Singapore, I was one of their first staff,
Mhm.
and I was their camera girl. And I remember this guy. It was not too bad, actually. It's a small little thing, I suppose, but it is worth noting that happened.
Mhm.
And when we took a photo and he was standing next to me, he actually slid his hand down my, almost near my butt, and way too close to comfort, almost to the point where he's trying to get away with something. And so I just grabbed his hand and pulled it up to my waist. And you need that kind of force and that kind of grit to tell that person, no, that is not okay. Even if it's not verbal, the way that you hold yourself, the way that you confront that person, even if it's just pulling their hand up in the right place, they know they did something wrong.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in saying that, that's kind of how I've been holding myself. You got to put yourself in the highest regard.
I would have slapped him. I would have slapped him and kicked his crotch. And I don't care if they fired me. Who cares? Abercrombie and Fitch is overrated anyway. I mean, they're going down of business, so who cares? Go to Gap's, go to Old Navy, go to what is that? Outfitters, yeah. And
Urban Outfitters.
Yeah, Urban Outfitters, and I love that store. Or even
have
Walmart,
that,
or Amazon. Who cares about Abercrombie and Fitch? Now,
yeah.
what are you obsessed about? Do you have any obsessions?
Obsessed. Oh my gosh.
Besides winning the Miss Universe crown?
Yeah. I am obsessed with learning. It seems so silly, but I am literally obsessed with learning. I want to touch this and that and whatnot. Like when I was doing the lockdown, I was obsessed with trying to learn how to DJ. And I actually bought myself a DJ console. So just trying to do as much as I can to really fuel that creativity.
Mhm.
And I feel like people are multifaceted. They're so interesting. And you know that one question when people say, "Oh, what do you do?" or "Oh, who are you?" or "Explain yourself." And then people always by default say, "Oh, I am a accountant," or "I am a manager," or something. You know, they just automatically fall into the, "Oh, what do you do?" It makes me feel uncomfortable to answer these questions because I see somebody being more than just their job, being more than just the profession that they carry. They, especially Filipinos, oh my gosh, let me tell you, Filipinos are one thing, but then they're also this and that, and they've got their pageant camps, and they've got, you know, their organization or their broadcasting network that they're doing on the side, or they're this photographer. There's just so much creativity fueling them, and they know that it's not just coming from one source, which is the money that they're making for their life.
Right.
So I would say that I'm obsessed with that. I'm obsessed with trying to learn as much as possible and to be more whole.
Mhm. That's good. Good.
Yeah, that's good. Nice.
Jan, go ahead.
Bernadette, would like to ask, who is the person you look up to the most? Do you look up to the most?
Mm, yeah, of course. There's actually this politician in the US called Stacey Abrams. Have you heard of her before?
Yeah, she ran for Senate in Georgia.
Yeah, that's right. So she's a politician. She's also a voting rights activist. She's also a minority leader. So I feel like, at least when it comes to minority leader, like we clicked in that respect. But I definitely look up to her just because she's a woman of color. So there's already so much in society that's stacked up against her. But despite that, she's able to really hold space for herself and really create the right kind of truth that she wants to give out to society. Um, so I would say it's her.
Do you
Nice.
do you
Well
admire
said.
do you admire a woman who is not a person of color?
Hmm. Lately, I've just been gravitating to minority leaders, it seems. Like AOC.
Okay, well, I actually hate her, but you know, go
Oh,
ahead. You have every right to like
oh,
whatever you
oh.
want.
Why do you hate her?
She's obnoxious. I think she's really dumb. Most of the stuff that she says are really dumb. I mean, her stupid quotes had become the most popular memes on the internet.
What are
Oh,
stupid that you think is stupid?
well, first of all, she killed Amazon jobs in her district in New York. She didn't want Amazon to be there. So that's one thing. And a lot of people hated her for that. People who voted for her now hate her because she
Oh,
literally killed millions of jobs. So that's one thing. What else to talk about? She's a socialist. I'm not a
mm,
socialist. I'm a capitalist. I'm a fervent follower of capitalism.
you don't like Bernie Sanders either.
I would have preferred him over Sleepy Joe. I'm sorry. But you know what? That's another topic. If you want, we can divulge
Definitely
another
another
hour to talk about American politics. But that's
Um,
irrelevant.
I love how you're so opinionated about it. I definitely don't know her policies and what she's doing, but I do like the voice that she's
Right. Yeah.
creating for the community that she's in. The fact that she's so courageous to run for the seat that she's in, coming from a background of being a bartender, and you know that in itself says a lot. So I look up to her for that.
Yeah. I'll give her that. Yeah. I'll give her that. Now, tell us about your biggest disappointment and how you were able to bounce back from it.
Oh, I was disappointed that I wasn't able to study abroad. This was because,
I thought, didn't you go to Australia? Didn't you
okay,
study there?
let me expound on that.
Okay.
I I came from an international school, which is why I have this accent. to anybody wondering. I went from the Philippines to Singapore, went through an international school, had all my friends, and my core group of people, they are truly international, right? We've got people from Mexico, Israel, America, Korea, all over the world. And so naturally, when we all graduated, they all went to different parts of the world to continue their studies. And at this time, I think I was already PR, and my parents were also starting their own company. They were starting a food and beverage company, and they needed the capital in order to kickstart, because we all know as a business, it needs to run on capital at the very beginning, and it doesn't have a return enough for them to sustain my education. So well, after I graduated, naturally, just by seeing how everybody else's paths were already laid out for them, I thought, man, I really want to study abroad. I really want to go to Australia. It's the closest non-Asian state so that I would feel like I'm having an international education outside of my roots. And it was close enough that, you know, it's not like we're talking about Europe here or America where you're doing 12-hour flights. So I really set that intention out there. And it actually took me 2.5 years of studying in university before I finally went abroad to study in Australia. I managed to do it, but there was a lot of disappointment at the very beginning. And when I reflect on it, it's not so much. When I reflect on it, the disappointment stems from the fact that I see other people living a different life that I can't attain. Mm-hmm. So that was the disappointment. And how I managed to overcome it was I just kept my eye on it. Like, I knew that I wasn't able to at that time, right? I wasn't paying big bucks yet. So at that time, I didn't think that that was a possibility, but I just did the very best that I could in whatever I was doing. So it started from Abercrombie and Fitch, and then meeting some people and them introducing me to modeling jobs, and then kind of doing modeling. And then I actually did the pageant for a bit. And I also won a pageant with Singapore Turf Club, which is a horse racing company here. So, I mean, it all kind of just snowballed, and eventually it led me to a point in my life where I was like, hey, I could actually go to Australia. I could still do that studying thing that I wanted.
Well, you know, it's all about networking, right? You network with people, and the more you socialize with people, the more opportunities for you to have. And so that's why part of being a beauty queen is to be able to be proactive, to be gregarious, to be as sociable and friendly as possible. And we don't want to see a beauty queen who just keeps to herself, who is very reserved, and who couldn't be bothered. Unfortunately, there are many of those types. Right, Jen Michael?
Yes, exactly. 100%. Check.
We can talk later.
We can talk later. Okay. So, Jen Michael, go ahead. Ask her question.
So another question is, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Interesting. Next 5 years, 31.
Yeah.
Well, I have goals that I want to attain. One of them is financial. I don't really have to disclose that, right? Where I want to see myself, I am at the cusp of trying to find the right career path right now. And I think 5 years gives me enough time to really be a professional in that space and to really own that space. So in the next 5 years, fingers crossed, in the profession that I want to move into, which is more hosting, which is more producing content. And I'm not just talking social media, I'm talking about maybe going on radio and maybe even producing a podcast, really trying to start conversations in this day and age. Those are the things that I really want to get into. More than that, I think I also want to be in a space where I could hold my own. And in Asia, we have this huge culture of living until you're married. But who knows, maybe you'll get married before 31. But hopefully I'd want to, one of the goals is to really live by myself, and really gain that sort of sense of independence.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, yes.
Nice.
Speaking of podcasts, I know a lot of people who are actually going to the podcast business. I know recently Miss Universe Canada 2016, Sierra Burchell, I think in the top 9 Miss Universe 2016 pageant. She evolved into doing podcasting. She also has a very popular YouTube channel where she analyzes pageants and whatnot. And then she evolved into podcasting as well. So you may want to look into her. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I have a curious question. I mean, I don't know of any woman, beauty queen, whatever, who doesn't like makeup. Now, if you were to use just one makeup product, just one, what? No, just one.
Okay, not 11.
What makeup product would you use forever and ever, and why?
This is super easy for me. So as an Asian, I don't really have good eyebrows. Like my eyebrows are actually very sparse, especially here halfway through. You could barely see anything. So I always have to fill them out. I definitely would choose an eyebrow pencil. And are you looking for something specific?
Yeah, an eyebrow pencil is a specific makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, so particularly the one that I'm using is called Maybelline Ultra Thin. So it's drugstore, it's cheap, but then the color is not too harsh.
What are you wearing now? Is it like dark brown? Is it like
dark brown. There you go.
Okay, that's good. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Now, did you by any chance use an eyebrow template? Because I see a lot of girls using an eyebrow template like that.
No, I don't, because I don't see, if I get it threaded, it's not like my hair will grow out too much, so it still retains its shape. So I'm lucky in that regard, but then at the same time I do need to fill them in. So I don't mind having a butt naked face. I enjoy my features. Whenever I'm in Bali or maybe in Boracay or Palawan or whatever, in the beach, that's my go-to, is just having it all natural. But definitely the eyebrows.
That's great. Yeah. Jan Michael, go ahead.
Do you have favorite place to visit here in the Philippines?
Favorite place to visit? Are we talking about in the city, or are we talking about in general?
In general, outside, particularly outside in Metro Manila.
Yeah, outside.
Yeah.
It would definitely be Palawan. I remember when I was a child, me and my family, we would stay in these huts that suspended on stilts, and then you would see these holes between the planks that you were standing on, and when you looked down, you could see jellyfishes just swimming around. And I think really Philippine islands are beyond majestic. You take your bangka and then you just ride from one island to the next. And I remember this quite clearly. This was 2 years ago. When I looked to the right, I saw an island with mist that looked like it came out of what's that gorilla movie? King Kong. It looked like the King Kong island. And then I turned to the right and it looks like Jurassic Park. So these two islands, these opposing islands, but they're still in the same area. And then the waters are so blue. Oh my gosh, look at that. There you go. That's it. Your background.
My background is actually, it's a famous resort here in Negros Occidental. It's the Lakawan. Meaning, yes, Lakawan. It's a private island resort here in Negros Occidental, particularly in Cadiz City. It's I think it's 45 minutes by land going there.
See, I mean, look at the water.
Yeah, it's a pristine.
Yeah.
Bernadette, Do you know how many islands are there in the Philippines?
Oh my gosh, thousands, right? Thousands. There's still so much untouched land.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me an estimate.
That was my estimate. Maybe 1,389.
Not even close, girl.
Really?
Okay, so that's going to be your assignment. After this interview, since you like to learn a lot, that's going to be your assignment.
Okay,
Now,
I'm on it.
Now, simple question. What makes you happy and what makes you sad?
What makes me happy? Nature makes me happy. During the lockdown, we called it circuit breaker here in Singapore. I couldn't get out, and I mean, in any other country, you couldn't get out of your house, right? The only time we as Singaporeans were allowed to go out of our house was when we were exercising or going to the grocery store. So luckily, I live up at the Bukit Timah Hill, and it's the highest natural peak in Singapore. So I was given the opportunity every single day to just walk out there and get my steps in, unencumbered. So, and legally too, just so you know. Yeah, it's allowed. So every time I felt unrest, anxiety, uncertainty, doubts, fears, I would just strap my shoes in and I would just make sure that I walk right next to nature. And if anybody is dealing with any type of stress, or sometimes you're feeling maybe like you're an alien in this world, like you're out of place, just take the time to walk. You don't even have to run. You don't even have to like do crazy hike. All you have to do is really place yourself in nature, and it will definitely center you back into reality.
Do you meditate?
I agree.
Do you do any yoga or meditation exercises at all?
I do lots of things. I do this brain dump every morning, or I try to every morning. And a brain dump is basically journaling. So you wake up in the day and we've all got our monkey minds. So what we do is have a designated notebook and you just keep writing whatever you want, how many pages you want. I know some people put rules in it, but as long as you just you know when to stop, you'll know. So I do that. I do that on top of meditating. Right now I'm doing this Joe Dispenza meditation. But yeah, I do those things.
And what makes you sad?
It makes me sad.
AOC.
I definitely pulled out some emotions out of you.
Just kidding.
I mean, there's a lot of things to be sad about. I would say one of the most pressing ones are the fact that the creative sphere in Singapore is not really represented very well. We've got a lot of local talent, but it's not given the right opportunity. I'd say one thing that America does really well is try and support local, or try and have conversations and build a community. Whereas here in Singapore, if you go into the creative space, you're not really going to make big bucks. So yeah. That's one thing that makes me sad, is like there's passion, and I wish there was more creativity, because if you just created more opportunities and paid them right for this type of role, then I think if you put importance in it, like right now we've got phase 3. So Singapore opens in different phases during the lockdown. Right now it's phase 3 and we're allowed to have live performances now, but they didn't include DJs in it. That makes me sad.
Nice.
That is very sad. Yeah.
Well, at least somehow Singapore is opening its business from transitioning from the pandemic, from the lockdown to, a new normal thing, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this is just one
Mhm.
small aspect of what makes me sad. We can talk about other things, like bigger things, but that is one of them.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're almost out of time, but Jen Michael, you have one question, your last question for Bernadette, please.
Yeah. I think my question is, what is your idea of success and happiness?
Okay. How much time do we have for this question? Can I give you a story?
Okay, I'll give you
Oh,
a minute and a half.
yeah.
Oh no, okay, a story then. Um, I would say that success initially meant wealth, meant fame, meant what everybody else is deeming as success nowadays whenever you're looking at the news or YouTube or whatever it is. But now, to me, I know that success means being able to own your own person fully. And I'm sure all of you guys feel it. Maybe when you were teenagers, you were angsty, that term, angsty teenager.
Mhm.
It's because you feel like you have so much untapped potential and there's so much that you can give that it's not being realized, or maybe your parents or your teachers, they're not looking at you from the lens for which you see yourself. And I think for success, to me, it is being able to step into that person that you have always felt you knew were capable of being. And I love that I'm doing this Miss Universe because it's really pushed me to be somebody that I never would have pushed myself. It's all that energy, that 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 soul force from within you. It's already there.
Mhm.
But sometimes you just need that one tool, that vehicle to catalyze that out of you. So I think for me, success really means being able to fully realize into that.
I totally
Nice.
agree. And you know what? In a way, failing in doing something is a type of success in itself, because how else can you succeed the next time if you don't experience failure the first time?
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
I think there's a very good reason why sometimes we fail. Actually, I should say flail. There's a difference between failing and flailing. We flail.
I agree. I
Now,
agree on that.
Bernadette, we're gonna play a game. It's called Fast Talk. Fast Talk. What we're gonna
Okay.
do is that we're gonna just mention two things, and it's up
Okay.
to you to tell us what you prefer. Okay?
Let's do
Ready?
it.
Yes. Go. Bring it
Go!
on, Rafa.
Ice cream or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Dog or cat?
Cat, but I have a dog.
Me too. Fork or chopsticks?
Chopsticks.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Lights on or lights out?
Ooh, lights out.
Okay. Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Dining in or dining out?
Dining out.
Okay.
If
Love.
you don't count the calories.
Okay. Love or money, baby?
Love. Love is all there is.
That's
Yeah.
so corny. Everybody loves money. Because if
You
you have
cannot
all the money in the
earn
world,
love.
can you not buy love? Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, you can. It's a superficial kind of love.
Well, that's true. That's true. I agree. To become Singapore's first female prime minister, or to be crowned Singapore's first Miss Universe?
I am happy where I am. Miss Universe Singapore. I don't know
Now,
what this is.
Nice, nice.
now, before we let you go, darling, okay, I just want to say that you are one amazing, incredible, bubbly, intelligent, smart, young woman, beautiful inside
Yes.
and out. And I
Yeah.
am praying, God, please, please make Singapore, have Singapore in the top 10 at least. Okay? Please, it's time for Singapore to shine on the international
Exactly.
stage. And I think you have all the qualities to bring that into
Yeah.
reality. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
I agree on Rafa. I
don't
agree
you
with
agree?
Rafa.
Yeah. Now, I know before we let you go, is there a message that you would like to convey to your fans, to Singapore, and to the world?
I know that everybody is struggling this year, and we might have made plans for this year that was not fully realized. And to that, I just have to say that you never know what the silver lining is. And I know it sounds really corny, but really there is a silver lining to everything. I'm sure with progress, there needs to be change. And this year in itself has really shaken up the structure in which we play, in which we work, in which we interact with people. And I hope that you can take away from this very unique and definitely challenging but beautiful time in our lives.
Wonderful. Also, you're multilingual. Can you say something, some greeting to your fans in Filipino and in Mandarin Chinese? Do you speak Mandarin? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, 我可以讲一点点，可是不太好. So I don't know why they say it's fluent. It's not. I just said I can only speak a bit. And
Okay.
really that's the only thing I can speak, okay?
But how do you say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year in Mandarin?
See, I don't even know.
I know Gong He Fa Choi. Isn't that Happy New Year?
Fa Cai means Chinese New Year.
Right,
But
okay.
Merry Christmas is not really a thing for Chinese
That's
people.
true.
So I was picking up my dress, and she was somebody from the Chinese. She was telling me that she's not really celebrating at all. Neither is her family.
Well,
it's not really a thing.
Yeah, that's too bad. All right, say something in Taglish or Filipino.
Tagalog, kumusta na po kayo? Salamat po na rinig. Salamat po na karinig ng
Kaya mo yan.
interview natin ngayon. Hindi na ako makakahintay kasi gusto ko nang pumunta ng Pinas. Kaya sana makakausap ulit tayo. At marami pong mahal.
Mahal ko kayong lahat.
Mahal na mahal ko kayong lahat. Kayo ay lahat sa akin.
Wow.
Bravo! That's awesome. That's awesome. That's wonderful.
That's awesome.
Listen.
Wonderful.
Listen, we're going to be following your journey between now and until Miss Universe competition. We feel that you're going to do very, very well, and you will be an excellent representative of Singapore. And we wish you the best of luck. And virtual hug, because
we can do this. We can do this. It's allowed.
Okay, Michael. You know, yeah. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and say hello to Singapore from Critical Beauty for us.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
I can't wait to share our interview.
This interview, I'm actually going to upload this interview to YouTube later today. But what I need to do is I need to do a timeline so people will have an idea what we talked about. So after that, and after that, I'll let you know. Okay.
Can't wait.
So good luck, Miss Beautiful Universe Singapore 2020, Bernadette Belle Ong, for gracing our interview today. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all the Critical Beauty viewers out there.
Thank you very much, Bernadette, for your time. See you soon.
See you soon.
Yeah. Let's keep in contact again.
We will. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.